There's a special kind of loneliness that comes from being forgotten by the people who are supposed to remember you most. My name is Claire Morrison. I'm 27 years old today, and this is the story of the birthday that changed everything. I've always been the invisible one in my family. Not the oldest, like my sister Margaret, who took over the family bakery. Not the youngest, like my brother Danny, who everyone babies. Just the middle child Claire, the one who's easy to overlook. Last year, my family forgot my 26th birthday completely. Everyone was busy with the bakery's anniversary celebration, and somehow my birthday just slipped through the cracks. When I reminded them 3 days later, they apologized, promised it would never happen again, and took me to dinner at a chain restaurant where they spent the whole time talking about bakery business. This year, I told myself it would be different. I'd mentioned my birthday casually several times in the weeks leading up to it. Can't believe I'll be 27 next Tuesday. My birthday's coming up the 15th. Remember? Subtle reminders that shouldn't have been necessary but felt essential. The morning of my birthday, I woke up to silence. No texts, no calls. I checked social media, nothing from my family, though plenty of acquaintances and work friends had posted happy birthday messages. I went to work at the Youth Services Center, spending the day with kids who understood what it felt like to be forgotten. 12-year-old Marcus made me a card in art therapy. "You always remember our birthdays," he said. "Someone should remember yours." That card meant more to me than anything my family could have bought. After work, I did something I'd never done before. I texted my family group chat. I made a reservation at Rosario's for 7 p.m. tonight. My birthday dinner. Hope you can all make it. I put it out there. Clear, direct, impossible to miss. My sister Margaret replied, "Oh shoot, is that today? I'm swamped at the bakery. Can we do it this weekend?" My oldest brother James, "Sorry sis, I have my son's soccer game." My younger sister Beth, "I have plans with friends. Didn't know it was your birthday." My baby brother Danny, "Maybe next week." My parents didn't respond at all. I sat in my apartment, staring at those messages, feeling something cracked inside my chest. Once could be an accident. Twice was a pattern. They didn't forget, they just didn't care enough to prioritize me. But I'd made the reservation, I'd put on a nice dress, I'd done my makeup, so I decided I'd go anyway. I'd have birthday dinner alone, and I'd try to pretend it didn't hurt. Rosario's was a small Italian restaurant I loved, the kind of place with red checkered tablecloths and candles and wine bottles. The hostess looked at me with pity when I said, "Just one, please." She sat me at a table for two. I ordered a glass of wine and stared at the empty chair across from me, fighting back tears. The server came to take my order, noticed the single setting, and gave me that look, the one that said she understood this was supposed to be a celebration and had turned into something sad. "It's my birthday," I said, not sure why I was telling her. "Oh, honey, happy birthday." First glass of wine is on the house. I thanked her and ordered pasta I didn't really want. Around me, families laughed and talked. Couples held hands. I sat alone at my table for two, the physical representation of my family's absence. I was just about to leave Coudembert to sit through an entire meal alone when I heard a voice, "Clyde Morrison." I looked up, and my breath caught. Standing there was Mrs. Eleanor Hayes, my 5th grade teacher. She was older now, probably in her 70s, but I'd recognize her anywhere. She'd been my favorite teacher, the one who'd made me feel seen during a childhood of being overlooked. "Mrs. Hayes," I stood up, shocked. "What are you doing here?" I could ask you the same thing. "Are you dining alone, sweetheart?" "Yes. It's my birthday, and my family couldn't make it." Her expression shifted from surprise to something fierce. "They forgot again, didn't they?" I stared at her. "Again. How did you, Claire? Sit down. Let me join you." She settled into the empty chair. "I remember last year you came to volunteer at the literacy program looking so sad. When I asked what was wrong, you told me your family had forgotten your birthday. I could tell it broke your heart. I'd forgotten about that conversation. I volunteered teaching adults to read once a month, and Mrs. Hayes ran the program." I remembered the date, she continued. February 15th. I thought about reaching out, but I didn't want to overstep. "But tonight, I was having dinner with my daughter at the restaurant next door, and I saw you through the window, sitting alone. And I thought, that girl needs someone to remember her." Tears spilled down my cheeks. "You remembered my birthday from one conversation a year ago." "Of course I did, Claire. I taught hundreds of students over 40 years, but some you never forget. You were one of those. You came to school every day trying so hard to be noticed, to matter. And I saw you, sweetheart. I've always seen you." The server approached, surprised to see my table suddenly occupied. Mrs. Hayes ordered dinner, then raised her water glass. To Claire? To 27 years of being extraordinary, even when the people around you failed to notice. We clicked glasses, and something in my chest that had been tight for so long finally loosened. Over dinner, Mrs. Hayes asked about my life. Really asked, really listened. She wanted to know about my work with foster kids, my apartment, my dreams. When I told her about the youth center and the kids I helped, her eyes lit up. Claire, you became exactly who I hoped you'd become. Someone who sees the invisible children, because you know what that feels like? That's a gift. I don't feel gifted. I feel forgotten. By your family, perhaps, but not by those children. Not by me. Not by everyone. She reached across the table and took my hand. Sometimes the family we're born into isn't capable of seeing our value. That's their limitation, not your worth. The server brought out a small piece of tiramisu with a candle. I told them, "It's your birthday," Mrs. Hayes explained. "Make a wish." I closed my eyes. A year ago, I would have wished for my family to remember me. But tonight, sitting across from a woman who'd sought me out because she cared, I wished for something different. I wished to stop measuring my worth by people who couldn't see it. After dinner, Mrs. Hayes walked me to my car. I meant what I said in there. You're extraordinary. And Claire, you don't need your family's validation to know that's true. Thank you for showing up tonight. You have no idea what it meant. Actually, I do. When I was 32, my entire family forgot my birthday. My mother called 3 weeks later asking why I was being distant. That pain stays with you. So, when I saw you tonight, I thought maybe I can make sure Claire doesn't spend her birthday feeling as alone as I did. We hugged, and she pressed something into my hand, a small, wrapped package. Open it when you get home. In my apartment, I opened the gift. Inside was a beautiful journal and a note. Dear Claire, I've watched you grow from a quiet 5th grader into a remarkable woman. Write your own story. You don't need anyone else to validate the chapters. Love, Mrs. Hayes. P.S. Same time, same place, next year. Let's make it a tradition. I cried, but this time, they were different tears. Not tears of being forgotten, but tears of being remembered by someone who didn't have to, who chose to. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Sorry, sweetie. Got busy. We'll celebrate this weekend. I stared at it for a long time. Then I put my phone down and opened the journal Mrs. Hayes had given me. On the first page, I wrote, 27, the year I stopped waiting for my family to see me and started surrounding myself with people who already do. My name is Claire Morrison. I'm 27 years old. My family forgot my birthday. A gang probably will keep forgetting because I've finally accepted that's who they are. But someone unexpected showed up. My 5th grade teacher, who remembered one conversation from a year ago and cared enough to make sure I didn't spend my birthday alone. And I learned something important. Being forgotten by family hurts, but being remembered by someone who chooses to see you, that heals something deeper than family obligation ever could. Next February 15th, I'll be at Rosario's at 7, and Mrs. Hayes will be there too, not because she has to be, but because she wants to be, and that makes all the difference.